Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. I know y'all have never really seen a wide view of the shop. That's partially on purpose because it's normally a train wreck, still a train wreck. What y'all can see is actually probably one of the cleanest, it's one of the times it's been the cleanest. Um, but it's going to be a little bit of a shop tour almost. I got some stuff that's going to be out of frame I'm not going to show. I'm just going to tell you where it is. Right now, literally directly behind you is the shaper. I have not forgotten about that. That is going to be a project I hope to finish up this month, and that'll be put back into use. I'm going to be hopefully doing a video, one last final part on that, and then maybe another making a custom fence with dust collection in it, and possibly adding a power feeder to it. I have a small one. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it on that or make like a removable mount to switch between that and a router table I want to build. But over here to the left, behind, well, I guess it's y'all's right, I should say, is my Powermatic Model 1200 drill press. That thing's an absolute beast. It has more power than I know what to do with, and it has an extreme capacity. It's 10 inches between the center of the chuck and the post of the drill press, and it's a 1-horse 3-phase motor on it, and I believe the quill has about 6 inches of travel on it, so you can punch a hole through dang near anything with that. And for those wondering too, I did say it was 3-phase. I do not have 3-phase power here, but I have a phase converter. I do have a rotary phase converter. I believe it's about a 5-horsepower unit. So I can power that Powermatic drill press. I have over here again to the side, is a Delta RU50 pin router. I haven't used that much, debating on selling it. It's a pretty nice unit. It works really well. All the stuff on it functions. I've tested it out. Doesn't look the prettiest, but it works and it's solid. So other than one minor air leak, which is just a fitting that I need to replace, I think I'm going to let that go down the road this year. Still kind of undecided on it. For those of you that don't know, a pin router is kind of like the stepping stones between just manual hand grouting and a CNC. You take templates and you can follow shapes on the inside of stuff, and instead of the router being in the table, the router's above the table and there's a pin in the table that you follow your template on. So it's kind of cool, but it's a bit of an outdated machine, and I just don't do the type of work that excels at. Ideally, I'd have a small CNC to replace it with, maybe one day in the future, but probably not going to be anytime soon. But moving to what you can see in frame, I've got this Grizzly planer here. It's a 20-inch wide extreme duty planer, 5-horse single phase, and it's got the helical cutter head in it. This thing's been an absolute game changer, going from a little like lunchbox style planer. Absolutely love this thing. And this behemoth here beside me is one of my pride and joys in the shop. It's a Rockwell Delta 1214 table saw. It'll accept either a 12 or a 14-inch table saw blade, and it's also got a 5-horsepower motor driving it. So this thing doesn't bog down for anything. You got to be extra careful with this. I am super careful with everything in the shop, but I have the most respect for this machine here and the shaper. Those are two things that'll get away from you in a heartbeat. And this thing won't hesitate to throw a board through the wall of your shop or you. So keeping that in mind, I like to use this thing mostly with this here. If I can get this thing picked up and rotated in frame for you. This here is a massive power feeder. I believe it's a Holtz hair feeder. It's got 2 forward speeds and 2 reverse speeds, so you can set it up on a shaper, because sometimes there's cutters that you need to run forward or reverse. So this is really nice. I can take it off of here, put it on the shaper if I want to, or ideally, if I rearrange the shop a little bit, I could just place the shaper right beside it and be able to utilize it on the table saw and the shaper at the same time. So that might be an idea for the future, although that's probably not going to happen in this shop because I'm kind of constrained on space. But this feeder is also 3-phase. I have an extension cord coming off of my phase converter that goes through the ceiling, and right now it's hanging down at my drill press, but I have a couple of hooks in the ceiling here, and it'll hook come over here, and then this cord on the feeder is pretty long too, so I can hook it up. Everything's out of the way, and I've got 3-phase all the way to here when the converter is all the way over there 15-20 feet away. So that's been really nice. This thing's an absolute beast. I don't use it a ton, but when I do, it's extremely nice and handy to have. So set this back down, take a little bit of weight off the saw again. But right here behind me, y'all can't really see it because of the feeder, but this is my 8-inch grizzly joiner here. I started off with the 6-inch joiner, completely outgrew it. If y'all saw that table video or the shorts I did on it earlier this year, I did a 4x12 white oak dining table, and I knew that that little joiner wasn't going to cut it, so I upgraded to this one. I got it used through an auction, and most of the stuff I get is used, other than the planer and the dust collector. Those were new, but all this stuff is old and used, except for the grizzly stuff. That's also mostly just been new. So we're going to pan around to a different spot in the shop. All right, now as you come in the shop, you're sitting on the big table saw. We come over here to this side, and I've got the miter saw station. Ideally, what would be nice to have in your shop, wherever your main door is, whether it's an entry door or a garage door, place your miter saw station as close as you can to that. That way, whenever you bring materials in, they can go straight to that or be piled on the floor close to it. I have to bring them in, shimmy my boards down this way, and then I feed them back that way to a spot off camera. And I have a pile of lumber stacked up right there. It's a bunch of treated 2x4s, 2x6s, stuff like that. I do a ton of outdoor furniture, so I try to keep some of that on hand. But this has been really nice. I believe I got about 5 feet of support that way and about 3.5 this way. I have used this to cut boards. I get mostly 12-foot stuff, but I have used it, and it does support a 14-foot board just barely. But I do have some outfeed stands that I can put down there. Right now, buried in that corner back there is my hand tool woodworking bench. Y'all haven't seen that. It's going to be a project for this year, hopefully soon. More realistically, it's probably going to be about the middle of the year in the summertime. I want to completely take that apart, scrap the base on it, because, be honest, it just isn't tall enough, and I can do a lot better than what I did on that. So I'm going to redo that, make it about 6 inches wider, a little bit taller, put in a nice cabinet under it so I can keep all my hand tools and stuff that I use at it on just close reach. And then further back, I have a little bit of a French cleat wall, so, and some other little clusters of tools, so I'll pan around and show you all that. All right, now as we kind of mosey on to the back side of the shop, there's one thing that y'all haven't seen. Right here is the 10-inch table saw. It's out of frame. I might show it, I might not. Y'all know where it is. You've seen my other videos. So as we come back here, I've got a little tool cluster and my workbench over here. Like I said, that's going to be something I want to work on this year. And I'm going to completely redo this back section and make it more useful. So the workbench will run this way from the bandsaw over to that red cart that's not going to be there. I'm going to clean that out, get it moving good and stuff, kind of oil the slides up and the casters on it. And once I finish my sawmill building, that's going to go down in that as a little toolkit to work on stuff down there and just keep tools down there for that and kind of unclutter the shop. So speaking of uncluttering, all this scrap wood is going to be either used up or burned. Some of it does just need to be burned, so have a nice bonfire for too long. But on the back wall, I've got that mechanics chest, and that's got a bunch of random tools that I've collected over the years, bunch of finishing supplies, sandpaper, just general shop stuff. I have no storage space in the shop as far as drawers or cabinets go. That's the only thing, so I definitely need to put in a bank of cabinets back here. I'm thinking a 2-foot wide base cabinet on each side of the toolbox, but the toolbox is going to shift to the left about 2 or 3 feet, and then have a section of uppers go up and wrap all the way around the top of it, and put another workbench over top of the toolbox so I can wheel that in and out and have extra workspace if I need it. Probably never do that, but it'll at least be nice to have the option to. So going with the tools that are right in front of me, this is my Grizzly belt and disc sander. I absolutely love this thing. I'm ashamed to say I didn't buy it sooner than I did. This was also one of the tools that I bought new, and it was well worth the money. Like I said, I do a ton of outdoor stuff and sanding parts for Adirondack chairs and stuff like that. You save so much time with one of these. The only thing that might be a little bit faster is if you get one of those big belt sanders. I believe it's an edge sander, and that would be nicer. I've always got my eye out for tools on Marketplace and stuff like that, so if I see one of those, I might pick it up if it's the right price. Hopefully I can find an old one or a really big one of the two. I'd love to do that. Tucked in behind it here is a 24-inch wide Grizzly dual drum sander. That's one that I bought used, and I don't think I should have. I think I bought somebody else's problem. It's probably the reason they got it or sold it to me. That's going to leave this year. I'm going to try to fix it up and push it down the road. Got a bunch of extra stuff to go with it, so got sandpaper and extra clips, the special tape to hold the sandpaper on one end. I don't really like that. That seems kind of gimmicky to me, but whatever. It's going to go with the dust collection hood that I built for it, and it's going to go with the rolling base on it too. So I'm getting rid of that thing and freeing up space back here, because when I redo this, I need space. But this here has been a trusty old saw. It's a 14-inch Delta bandsaw, and this is 3-phase, and I do not run 3-phase from my converter all the way up front. I actually had this before I had that converter and the other 3-phase tools. This has a Phase-O-Matic static phase converter. It's not as nice as a rotary phase converter. It does work. Ideally, I'd like to take this saw and convert it back to single phase with a new motor. I believe this one's getting kind of old and tired, long in the tooth, but it's been good to me so far, and it's about time I replace the bearings in it, so that'll probably be another video coming up here on the channel before too long. But let me reposition and get back here. I will say, y'all can probably see it in the corner of the video up there. I had my dust collector mounted up in the ceiling on a shelf, and that's been really nice to have that out of the way. Ideally, I'd like to vent all my dust and chips straight outside so I don't have to worry about a separator or anything like that, but I can't exactly do that in this shop, at least not very easily anyways, without making a huge mess outside. So let's move the camera and get a little bit more of the turning area. Alright, as we move further back in the shop, the little 14-inch bandsaw is right here to my left, and I've got my Monsters 20-inch bandsaw here. I absolutely love this machine. I believe it's my favorite tool in the shop. It's between this and that Powermatic drill press. And I think I've said it in the previous video, but you can go back and watch the restoration videos I did. It's more of a slideshow of pictures, and I did do an updated video on them with a voiceover. But I absolutely love this thing. The capacity of it is great. It's got about, at the tallest point, if you're resawing a narrow board, I believe it's about 12.5 inches of resaw capacity, which is insane. I've never really needed to resaw anything that big, but that's always been something I've kind of had my eye on if I ever wanted to do veneers or panels, stuff like that, and book match them. Thought this would be a really nice thing to have in the shop. And it's got a humongous throat capacity, so you can get quite a wide board on either side of the blade. But I absolutely love that machine. It was a really fun restoration. I bought it in parts as a package deal with the pin router. So, absolutely love this thing. I'll pan back, move the camera back a little bit further here in a second. But this is my turning bench. And right now it's collected some benchtop tools and a ton of turning blanks that I don't know what to do with because my bench right here is full. So I guess I need to get to turning. So right here I got this little Wind spindle sander. It's been pretty nice to me. I've only owned it for a short time, I might do a review on that in the future. The price was right for it. I would have loved to have had an old monstrous like cast iron floor unit, but I don't have the space and I couldn't justify the money for one when really I don't use it that much, and something like this can get me by. Maybe one day in the future I'll upgrade it. But right there behind it is my little Grizzly mortising machine. Has a half-horse motor on it. It does all right. It's probably not made to use quite as heavily as I do, or on quite as large a project as I do. I do a lot of large mortise and tenon stuff, and if you're doing small stuff like dressers and face frames for that type of stuff, or nightstands, perfect for that. But if you start getting into your larger stuff like really big dining tables like that one I made earlier this year, it can't quite keep up with that. I actually did burn up the capacitor on it. I was able to get another one and put it back in, and it's worked great ever since then. So I can't really complain too much. That would be a machine that I would like to find an old one, like an old Powermatic mortiser, and be able to restore that and get that in here, because I would absolutely love to have one of those and I would use it. So let me move it back and get a better view of the lathes. All right, now you're sitting on top of the 14-inch bandsaw, but this right here is my little Turncrafter Commander 10x18 mini lathe. This thing has been an absolute powerhouse. I started off with a Harbor Freight mini lathe, and that's what got me into woodworking. And I finally replaced it with this like 8 years later, and it's night and day difference. The quality of this over that is insane. I couldn't say enough nice things about it. I did a review on this, and it's the video, the nicest mini lathe money can buy, or the best mini lathe money can buy. If you're in the market for one, I highly recommend this. It's priced pretty competitively as far as some of the other larger name brands go, but I love this lathe, and I'll probably never get rid of it unless I absolutely wear it out and I need to buy another one. But moving back here, this is our floor standing unit here. This is a Rockwell Delta. I believe it's a 12-inch swing by about 36-inch long bed, or the longest piece I can turn is either 36 or 40 inches long. Not completely sure on that. I've never really needed to max it out that size. The longest spindle I've ever turned is about 30 inches, and I still had plenty of room. And I've only made a couple of large bowls with it, so it's done everything I've needed to, and it's also variable speed. It's got a Reeves drive in it, and it's been really nice to have. It's a 1-horse single phase, and behind it here on the wall, I've got all of my turning tools. I've got a really nice set of Robert Sorby tools there. Believe it or not, I did not pay the outrageous price for those tools. I love Facebook Marketplace because you get good deals, and I got good deals. I bought about $800 or $900 worth of turning tools for about $100, and that set was in there, and I've got like 3 other sets of random stuff, whether it's Benjamin's Best or a couple of other like house brand tools. But that's the primary set that I use, and those over there that I have in a bucket right now are the ones that I'm using to kind of learn to sharpen on freehand. And I do have jigs too for my grinder right here on the end of the turning bench, and that's set up with the Wolverine jig so I can easily get repeatable grinds on my roughing gouges, spindle gouges, and the bowl gouge is the big one. But this has worked out really nice for me. I spend a ton of time back here, so I couldn't say much else, and that's really about it for the shop. So I know this video is going to be a little bit long in the tooth, and you're probably tired of looking at my ugly mug, but if y'all don't mind, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel out, and I'm hoping to do a lot of videos this year. Primarily, I'd like to do 2 videos a week, Tuesday and Thursday, but that might change to Wednesday and Saturday. I'm not sure yet. So we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all guys on the next video.